This is also the first time we are making this conversation live, because so far I was just talking to people, calling them over Zoom, and this is much nicer. Let's do it as long as we can, because maybe it will be forbidden again. But...
Also, yeah, Corona, the second wave will come again. Yeah, it's much. I feel also like much more comfortable to have this like one-on-one, real-time interaction.
You have to admit that it's kind of awkward at the same time to sit like this behind the table, being broadcasted all over the world. But anyway.
It is in a way, but I mean, like it's also like nice setup, so I do enjoy it. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is our nice meeting room. We decorated it with all the acoustic panels here and everything, so that there's less echo. Anyway, let's start.
All right.
I had the pleasure of talking to you on the first day of this webinar.
I really enjoyed it as well.
It was awesome. You were asking me questions, and you gave me a lot of space to discuss stuff that I wanted to say. And you just basically asked me like 3 questions, and the rest I was just mumbling and saying stuff that maybe people are not that much interested in, but you gave me the opportunity to do so.
But it was interesting, and I think like, it was exploring.
It certainly was interesting for me. It seems like this sort of conversations, they have a very good influence on one's mental health. So for me,
speak it out.
for me, it was very good to say whatever I wanted to say, and you gave me the opportunity. And I would like to give you the opportunity now again.
All right.
So first of all, I have to say that I first met you in Vienna a long time ago. I think it was like 2013. Yes, it was in Vienna. We were organizing a workshop at a place called.
I was with the Stephen Ma, right?
Yeah, the Stephen Ma workshop. And you were the first person from Slovakia to actually attend our workshop. So we are from the same country, and well, maybe you were not the first one, but one of the very few first people who actually attended. Okay. And I was pleasantly surprised that somebody from the same country like I am is coming to a workshop. Very advanced, very deep into the paradigm of computational design at the time, which was not a thing that people would be interested in. But you were in Vienna, and you were interested in this stuff. And I have to say that ever since, it seems like you went even deeper into the community of computational design, and you are probably one of 2 people who are the best connected. I mean, you know everyone, and you've been at every important event since for like the last 5 years at least, and that's kind of impressive. So my first question is, where does the interest come from? What is your personal professional history? Where did it start?
Well, like since ever I was born, since my childhood, I was actually like interested in kind of like
you are doing really deep into the past when you were born.
Yeah, I mean,
I was
like,
thinking about the studies.
Yeah, my studies. Okay, so then I was like in Berlin, in Czech Republic, like also was teaching, right? And then you know, I just wanted to like explore something more. So of course, like I was like going for like exchanges.
But you were not studying architecture, right?
No, it was spatial design, like 3D design, interior, exterior. Because in that university there was no architecture before, so I don't have like architectural bachelor degree. Okay. So that's why actually I was interested to explore behind this, somehow something more, challenge myself. So I actually went to study architecture to Vienna, and like I explored that there is a Zaha Hadid, you know, so this kind of amazing personality brought me to, I don't know, just like to start the master degree there, and I think everything started there. And yeah, I started 2012, and then 2013 we already met. So yeah, I mean, like this was the drive, you know. Yeah. So just my curiosity for new technological advances and what you can achieve with, I don't know, it's just new.
But then you were studying at the Angewandte. Yes. Did you take the full course or just a master's?
Yeah, at the time when I was entering the university, it was kind of like change, you know, shift from like the previous magister degree, you know, it was like 5 years of like studying, so students didn't need bachelor degree before, but like when I was entering, so it was like you had to have like bachelor degree. and then you could do the master, and it was like 3 years master, so it was like a little bit different than from other master degrees, because like usually it's like 1 or 2 years, and like here in Vienna it was like for 3 years, but like, you know, the amount of information that you had to process and the knowledge that you had to have for like completing the course was much more time consuming, so that's why they decided to have it for three years. So yeah.
But that's not it. Then you kept on studying. You went to Barcelona.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I was like, I looked up on digital fabrication also. So like, in Vienna, I was also like a tutor for digital fabrications. I was doing laser cutting, 3D printing somehow a little bit, but you know, like most of it. So then I wanted to have the experience also like a little bit different, because kind of how to say, yeah, I was just curious about like new technologies and how you can interact with machines, you know, this like virtual and digital interaction. So yeah, I decided to go to Barcelona. I think I met like on another workshop with you. I met Aldo, and he told me about this. So actually, that's why I decided to take this new learning experience, go to the Fab Lab and have interaction with the machines and codes, and then, you know, how you can make something physical from the virtual things. So yeah.
What was the ambition? Was it only just the curiosity, or did it have a plan?
I don't know. I think
talking about the Fab Academy.
If I had a plan, yeah, I always wanted to have my own lab.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Yes. So that's it. So just like not to have the experience and you have something like that, but you know, to use the experience for something and build something out of it. So yeah, let's see if I will manage in the future. But it would be nice to have like army of machines and kind of do amazing advanced stuff. And what I also really like that, you know, those like Fab Labs, it's a very nice dynamic environment with people also from outside. They can come and they can learn, they can just do something. So it's like building a community. And again, back to that.
Let's not forget this topic of the dynamics and people coming in. Let's return to this question later on. I'm just still curious about the beginnings. Mm-hmm. So you were studying spatial design in Zlín, which is a town that people might not know, but it's quite a small industrial town in Moravia, in the eastern Czech Republic, and it's really interesting because it was built by a factory owner, a shoemaker whose name is Baťa, and the brand is well known worldwide. And he built two towns or cities. One is in Czech Republic, one is in Slovakia.
He was building more of them, actually.
Maybe
he was like building like satellites all around the world. So like starting, of course, in Zlín, but then, you know, everywhere where he actually went, to every country was like traveling around, and like he wanted to build like these small satellite cities where actually his business can flourish out.
And what is very interesting is that they were incredibly modern at that time, which means modernistic or functionalist, like very rectangular, and, but it's super nice and a very pleasant place, because there is a housing estate where the workers were living in really small houses, brick cubes basically, and they all had their own garden around and so on. And then there are many industrial buildings that look almost the same. And the whole city is very coherent, and that's quite unusual. But this super nice setup that actually is very comforting in the idea that modernism actually works, and the functionalism actually is a good idea. If you are looking for an example where it does work, it's probably Zlín.
Definitely is.
So what happened that from this very comfortable setup, you decided to go to Vienna and study something that is called computational design, that is completely denying this aesthetics and this comfort of something like the idea that everything has been already discovered and it's this way. That's what the late functionalism and modernism is trying to tell us, or everybody who is building on that heritage right now is telling us, okay, you don't need to experiment anymore because they've done it and it's done and it works. what happened that you decided to explore this thing right after the computational design?
Okay, what happened? I think like I was also like driven by my professor somehow. I don't know, back in the days, you know, he was also kind of like really big personality. Like most of his work is related to like a stage design, you know. So he's also he's not alive anymore, but I think like he's seen at me that I have some kind of different challenges, and my potential should be somehow a little bit explored in different directions. It was his advice, you know, like it was. I tell you the story. It's like somehow funny, you know. So I went to the Netherlands for exchange. I came back, you know, it was my third year, and I was supposed to be doing a bachelor. And then, you know, like I actually really wanted to go to study to Prague, to the university where like UMPRUM, where you're doing your PhD. But I kind of like missed the deadline because I was outside, you know, so I was not able to like put the application. Then I just like was kind of confused what to do. I actually, you know, wanted to either like start studying for a year and then like take advantage and do it like next year to apply for Prague University. But then, you know, like I went for a beer with my professor, and he said like, Eva, hey, listen, you're talented. Fuck it, you're from Slovakia. You're just gonna go either to Vienna or Berlin, you know. So like, don't stop, just continue studying, finish it, do it. You know. So I was like, okay. That evening, I sit down on the internet and just like checked, you know, like possibilities in Vienna. And I don't know, like you didn't need it to actually send the application because, you know, they are doing it like twice per year. Every like half a year, you can actually apply for being a student at the Agavante. So you don't need to fill out any kind of stupid application form. So it's just like send a portfolio, come for like exams. Back in the days, it was like you had to be like 3 days of entry exams. So you had to like first send your portfolio, kind of talk about it, and they gave you some kind of a topic that you have to explore. You do like sketches, physical models, and then you have to also like do an interview. And so I passed. Like back then, like they were taking on like 2 students. I was like, fuck, man, I'm like accepted what to do now, and that's how it started. Yeah.
So it was. Did you have an understanding of the computational? Were you aware that something like computational design exists before you entered the Agavante?
Oh, sure, yes. I mean,
you knew that, right?
I knew it does exist, but, you know, since we didn't have so much computing experience back in Zlin, because we didn't have like, okay, like we're doing basics of Rhino, but there was no Grasshopper, there was no Maya, there was nothing, you know. There was also Archicad, you know, this like really basic software. So let's say like it's nice to use, but it's something else than computational design requires to have. So yeah, but then I came and I was just learning by doing, because the studio agenda in there, it was also very nice because it was like vertical. So you was like trashed in the studio, you was as a first year student working in groups, and you was experiencing kind of working on the project with all the students, and you can learn from each other. And I think this is the best way how you can learn. So like, I really enjoyed the way.
But the studio is truly vertical there, right? People from the first all the way to the last year study degree. Yeah, that's something that makes sense.
Yes, yes,
yes. To combine like everybody, all like being completely vertical. So you spent 3 years there.
Yeah.
What is the main thing that you have? I don't want to ask learn. I literally don't want to say the word, but maybe experience, or what is the notion? What is the thing that the most important thing that you realized while being there?
That it's amazing to learn from such big names, and like what I enjoyed the most, I would say, is the reviews and how the project that's being done by like any student can provoke such a discussion, and this discussion then explores whatever different potentials, how the problem solving or whatever the new design, you know, can be useful. So I don't know, I just like enjoyed like any kind of crits, and even though it was positive or negative or so, but you still can be, you have to be open-minded to kind of accept it, also. This interaction, like students and professors was very nice.
And is it just my observation, or is it really so that when there are critiques and the student is showing the project, it's usually just a trigger for a conversation. So the student doesn't really hear much about some sort of evaluation about the project, but but the debate between in the jury is more about the topic that, or questions that it opens. So eventually the student learns a lot, but doesn't get much comments about the project itself. Is it so, or is it?
I think it's individual, depends.
All right.
Also, I've seen like projects which were like really like triggering conversation like afterwards on the certain topic, and I don't know. But I've seen also like Klaus Bollinger, he always gives you like very feedback on the point on structure, of course.
Okay.
So he can give you feedback if it can stand or no, and so it can be different. But yeah, so this can be like solution for your project direction, which you can improve in the future. It's like really related to like the point, but then yeah, then it can go wild and explore like the future potentials of the topic what student brings with this project. So
let's move on from the Angular team. You graduated, and some people cannot wait until they graduate so that they can start their own studio and or start working at a studio and basically just apply whatever they've learned. Yeah. You were also working at a studio, is that right? But at the same time, you kept studying more. Why is that? Wasn't it enough?
What I mean studying more, like
no, I mean I still mean the Fab Academy.
Okay, but you can never learn enough, you know. So like learning every day something new. So let's be honest, so like explore more. It's like for me, I'm this kind of like adventure explorer. Like that's.
And why is that? Why is that? Well,
I don't know.
What's the value?
Me, myself, and I think like, I'm just like curious about like how you can improve whatever condition. So it's, I think like this is an issue about like us creative personalities, no? So you are always having this kind of inner struggle, how you can improve like whatever environments you're experiencing. So even it's like product design or things like that. But yeah, like my drive was to like kind of like explore this like human computer and machine interaction. I really liked okay, so also like my diploma was about, you know, like physical and virtual. So this was kind of like the start when we started to kind of like explore what's like possible. So we actually created like expo building situation, and it was like scanned thanks to sensors. So like how the building can behave like humans rolling away and how this interaction can be. So like, it's like, of course, like you have like a device with like full sensors, and you know, there's this virtual like user experience as well on the top, and then you know there's this virtual reality and then augmented reality, and all those things just it brought me curious like how the technological improvements can really like shape the way we interact with each other, but also with machines, and you know how the environment can be shaped and how it can navigate you through your everyday life. And so I think this was it, and also that it was combined with the digital fabrication, so on how you can combine it. So yeah, then the Academy was the best course to do to explore those things, and also that you can interact with other people like from with the same geeky environment. So
we are coming closer to that question. I haven't forgotten that I wanted to ask you, but
yes.
Just a little bit more about the field itself. I'm going to ask you, what does it mean for you, the computational design, and how do you identify, or how do you decide what to do and what to follow? But I first want to say that, but that's the question, I will repeat it again. But the thing is that it might be a generational thing, or I don't know, but when you do stuff, it seems to me completely natural that it's the digital stuff. It's like you are the one that is naturally connected to all these gadgets, devices, being online. Like that's the most natural thing for you, and at that point, I think it's kind of obvious that you as a creative, you would be attracted to the, well, we now keep saying computational design, but it used to be called in various ways. It was called digital architecture, it was called parametric design. Now there's this parametricism that Patrick Schumacher is pushing. Before it was called like animation design and animated architecture. Anyway, so now let's split the question to two. Am I right that this is the most natural thing for you? And the second part of the question is, how do you identify that this is something worth following or doing?
Okay, so natural, yeah, I would say so. Like I'm trying to do, like express myself in like the most natural way and do things I feel like creation should be. And of course, I'm like nature for me is like the biggest inspiration ever. Even though,
that's not very digital.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's then all about relations. And then when you just think in relations, then you are trying to translate it, and then you can also script it. Those like architects in future, they're gonna be like scripting those relations and then creating the forms responding to them.
Then maybe we can elaborate on that, because I think there could be two ways of inspiration from nature. There are people who just sit on a bench and look at a tree and admire and feel and absorb. And I think, well, sometimes I do that too. I actually do that quite often. But the inspiration that you get is kind of static. It's just, you're looking at a finished work of creation, whichever way it happened. And then there is another way of admiration of nature, is when you think about the processes.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
And that's where I think when Dennett is saying that Darwin is the greatest philosopher, but you can also think of what are the processes behind the creation of the forms in nature, and that's a much more dynamic understanding of nature.
Definitely.
So is that the way you?
I would say so. Like for me, it's much more interesting to see and observe the processes about like how the design or the creation is happening than the result by itself, you know, because then you can explore many variations, many options.
Don't you mind if I step in? I would actually say that now we are spot on, because this is exactly what makes the computational design different from the conventional or any other method of designing. That you really care about the processes and about the dynamics behind the creation of the thing.
Yes, definitely. I am like much more, I don't know, I really do not care about like what you did, but how you did it. You know, this is for me like the workflow behind, you know, the way of thinking, how did you observe, you know, like the observation, analyzation, evaluation, and the new design. So like for me, it's much more interesting to know what's in your head while doing it, and how did you like script it, like what's the pipeline of the, I don't know, even the brainstorming kit, you know, like it's like gives you like opens up so many like possibilities. So
I also have to say, well, I'm kind of a visual person. Well, not always, but
we all are visual people, you know, like
actually not everybody, I would say. But also not always. Also not always. But when I'm using Grasshopper, I like to see the text instead of icons. But the text is also some sort of a visual thing. But even if you are, if you look at text, you can read it like from the beginning to the end, or you can just scan the text. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that even when I'm looking at a finished building, in my mind, what is happening is not like I'm looking at one part, another part, or the whole or something. But I always see it somehow moving when it's being created. And I don't mean the workers like bricks, but I somehow see some infographic animation in my head, like the way it's growing and what comes first, and how even if it's not a natural thing, like the columns are growing and so on. And if this process is actually exciting, then building is exciting. And I think it's a mindset that when you see things dynamically all the time, then you probably have no other chance, or nothing satisfies your expectation as much as the computational design when it comes to the dynamics of the creation. Is that? Do you think so?
Yeah, I would say so, but like somehow. So it's like we all are like visual.
Yeah.
entities, let's say. We all kind of like communicate visually somehow. Doesn't matter if someone is like more like the text or scripts, but like at the end somehow you imagine walking through the building.
But even those texts and scripts, they do something, they perform
in time. In time, yeah, definitely, I would say. Like if you like the space, you enter it. If you don't like it, you just don't. And it's like we are like working on the aesthetics and approach like that. So how the script can be tricked in the way that it's also like visually nice and like functional. So also like it should kind of like navigate through visually, you know, so without you even thinking about it. And then, I mean, nowadays also there's like this new layer coming on top. So it's augmented reality. So you can actually like scan clouds, like move through these, and it can help you also like in different ways. So it has also like different like depth and structure, which can help you to interact. So it's like all this like IoT sphere.
You're basically putting a living layer on top of something that is not living.
New ecosystem.
Let's go back to the dynamics. And now I'm talking about the human interaction dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like, well, I know that you are a people's person. You like interacting.
I love people, yeah. No way, I hate them in renderings or so, but yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about that part. So I think you're the one that first looking for a solution. You first think about people who actually have the chance to help you to find the solution, which is always a good thing, because then you are always on top of the possible solutions. But anyway, what part of the dynamic thing? What is your ideal? What is the ideal setup when it comes to people when you think that when you think about the creation of a design? So do you think that the teams should can you imagine how a team could work, or do you think a sole person, just one artist, should do something, or should there be a team? Should it be something like fluid, coming in and out, being a process?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the collaboration is still kind of like very, very important, and this is like how we were also experiencing like our studies, you know. So like for me, like in Zlína, I was doing everything individually. Okay, it has advantages. You don't need to kind of compromise yourself when it's like somehow interact with another person. So about the idea, about the concept, about the design, you do all the decisions by yourself. But later on you realize that this is somehow just very kind of like static way of doing it. So like coming into the teamwork and collaborating with other people, you are just stretched into exploring different possibilities, and anyone can bring something different on the table. And for me, this is much more interesting because it brings out a lot of new potential. So yeah, definitely collaboration, and people can just interact with themselves. So like, and in a real world, it's like that as well. So like, you never do like a building by yourself just like that. You know, you have to also like interact with like engineers, you know, builders, workers, you know, I don't know, like whatever you do, then you have to just interact with people. So it's all about teamwork, also like within the office. So
yeah.
That's the way it is. So better or not like learn it, and don't be afraid of like doing collaboration and teamwork with other people. So it's I do enjoy it, you know.
I know. Let's finally open the main question. The reason why we are talking is that you are starting a new project, and I'm partly involved in the project.
Yes, I enjoy it as well.
And I'm also quite excited about it, and I'm very curious how do we actually manage. But it's mainly your project. I would just say that it's a lot about this human interaction dynamics. It's a lot about sharing. It's a lot about teams and teamwork. So what is that? How would you introduce it? I intentionally don't want to do it myself. What can you introduce it?
I would say let's wait for another, after the break, we're gonna introduce it also with my business partner, Lucy. We'll talk about it more. It's like about creating innovative platform for architects and designers where they can also learn, but also interact with another groups. and they can create better tomorrow. Let's say, I don't know. It's like new learning experience in combination with also interaction with universities, companies, you know, professionals, like be part of the community as well.
So you did say something, mentioned that's good. Can you also say the name of the project?
Arx.ace.
Okay. Actually, I've never heard you pronounce it. I always saw it on the type.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So, but it's also kind of like thing that, you know, so you was doing, so I get inspired a lot by you. So just to be honest, so.
No, I was bragging about what I was doing quite enough in this workshop. So I think it's time for you to present what you're planning. Anyway,
we will do so. But like I would say, like the main inspiration was also coming from the interaction when we were doing the workshops on site, you know, and we were like a group of people trying to learn new skills, and you know, also like kind of interaction within the groups. We were also like working on the teams, and then we had certain topics, and then we just had to just like meet and do stuff. And then afterwards, we just like went for, I don't know, beer, and afterwards and do this kind of thing.
Yeah, networking afterwards. And this is
it's
not
so
the first
important,
time. It is not the first time we are mentioning this. We were talking about that stuff with Mike prior a lot.
Oh yeah, because they're also like doing things with this endorphin. It's amazing setup. I love it as well.
And it was great for everybody, I think. And they came here for a week.
Yes.
For Mike, this was a very exotic location, I think. At that time, not anymore, but at that time it was. And the fact that a group of very eager, keen people met, and they spent the whole day working together and then partying together. It actually somehow fixates the knowledge in your head, and I think it's very beneficial.
Yes.
Although it's fine to meet online, there has to be some upgrade for the online meetings somehow.
Yeah, definitely. But I would say so, like moving into direction of like doing everything virtually. I would say we should be not forgetting about the importance of like physical connections and maintaining, of course. So yeah, also like when we're doing the workshops with this endorphin, for example, I was doing it also with people came to Vienna from all around the world, and they were like just happy to sit for days with like behind the computer, and like with zero skill of Rhino or Grasshopper, you know, we were like able to like go with them through this processes, and at the end they were like really happy that they can just achieve something, and they were like really networking with each other and presenting the projects. Kind of, I love to see the drive of people, and they're hungry for information. And just...
I think this won't be always possible. Like in these times, it's not that much possible. And maybe when the next crisis, maybe a different one comes, we will also not be able to travel, for example. It's very possible.
But maybe we will move to like virtual reality, and we'll have our avatars, and we will meet. You know,
that's actually scary, but
well, in a way, maybe it might be scary, but
no, it's only because I'm always getting dizzy and sick in virtual reality. That's the scary part. But
have you seen the new? Like, have you tried the new Oculus?
No, I haven't. But I'm not even very eager to do that. But
kind of like he was doing something like VR cave in Poland. I remember he was telling me something like that.
Yeah, that's we were. Yeah, VR cave. I've even forgotten. We were with Adrian Krężnik and Kasper Radiszewski. We went to Białystok, which is a city in Poland, very eastern, very northern, on the borders to Belarus, and they've got there's a technical university, and we were teaching a workshop there, and surprisingly, the technical university is very well equipped. Yeah. So they've got an amazing fab lab. They've got a very dynamic professor there who is just putting everything together. And one of the things that one of the devices that they have is some sort of virtual cave, which they were telling us about, and we were planning to go there and do something there, and we never did. So eventually,
you never went there. Oh.
No, because we were teaching a different workshop, and yeah. Anyway, but as far as I understand, it's without the goggles. You don't put anything on your head. You're just projections all around you, which also can make you really sick. But yeah, nevertheless, it kind of is interesting. And what I wanted to say is that where I was heading, you actually said that. I think that there is a great challenge right now to actually somehow enrich the online experience, so that it actually has all these benefits of meeting in real life, of the networking thing, of the little non-verbal things. That's another thing that you even said that learning from the big names is an amazing experience. Although I appreciate also all the teachers, they don't need to be famous. If they are good, they are good. But when you meet the famous people, the difference is that you've heard about the stuff that these people are saying, and maybe you read what they wrote, but then you cannot really have the good sense of what's important and what is not. And when they talk to you directly, when you can actually talk to them and see them while they say that, it's much easier to understand what do they actually mean.
Yeah, definitely. The only way to understand this experience is, so nothing is better than like your own experience, and you can learn from it. So yeah, that's
and the
why
greatest challenge is how to bring this to the online, so that we can stay safe, so that we can stay put. And if it's not possible to travel or meet, we don't want to lose this experience, right? Let's open this discussion now for also the audience. If you have anything that you would like to say or ask or add or comment, please do so. I'm also checking the Facebook, and then I've got one more question for you.
Okay, check it out.
I'm checking whether somebody on Facebook is asking something or not.
Lucy is there already.
Let's wait a little. We are about to finish. All right. It seems like sorry. It seems like there is no question. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you for having me here.
That's natural. You will also have your own presentation in about 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
With Lucy, and then we'll have the rest of the day will be the Nagami day.
Yes.
It will be the Arx.ace presents Nagami, and also at the beginning I will explain why. We'll have Manuel Jimenez Garcia from Nagami teaching a lot of various things. There will be a conversation like this one. He will have 2 lectures, one very theoretical, one will be hands-on, and then we'll have a tutorial that we'll do together with Manuel. So thank you. And my last question is the one that you wanted to ask me in the interview. Did you drink coffee?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, let's have a coffee and let's meet here in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, good. Okay. Let's do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.